clients are paying for results. At the end of the day, in family, you're going through a difficult time, one of the most difficult times in your life. You want to get through this period. You want to have the right things happen as it relates to the documents and the procedures and everything else. I don't think anyone's concerned with how you got there. Welcome back to the Sterling Family Law Show, the podcast designed to help family attorneys build the firm of their dreams. I am your host, Tyler Dolph. I'm also the CEO of our law firm consultancy called Rocket Clicks that was born out of our very own family law firm called Sterling Lawyers that has grown to over 27 attorneys. Today, we are going to discuss the state of AI in family law firms, and we've brought some friends along to help us with the conversation. If you're listening, we have the co-founder of Sterling Law, as well as our co-host on this show, Jeff Hughes, with us.
Everybody.
We also have one of our managing partners and wonderful attorneys at Sterling Law offices, Jeff Morrell.
Morning.
And then we have a friend of the show, as well as a client of Rocket Clicks and the leader of Summit Family Law. Charlotte is with us from Alabama today.
Hello.
Great to have all of you with us. Really appreciate your time. Excited for this conversation. I am hoping to go a little round robin style and talk and hear about how we are leveraging AI in your firm today and kind of what you think the landscape looks like or how it's changed since the introduction of these large language models. Jeff Hughes, I will start with you.
Oh, I was hoping you put me last so I could listen to the smart people talk. But so the question is, like, what's the question?
Where are we at today? What have you experienced as it relates to leveraging AI in the firm? And where do you think it's going to go?
Well, I see AI as a tremendous, to me, I'm super bullish on AI. I feel like it's a big opportunity for us as a firm. I see so many different areas that we can improve our service to our clients utilizing AI tools, both from a client communication standpoint, and also just reducing the lawyer's workload on delivering the service to our clients. So overall, super bullish on it. There's a few cautions, obviously, that go along with that I see for us, but we are excited internally at our firm as to where things are going. Jeff Morrell, one of our partners, is with us, and him and I have been working on, mainly him, I will say, I've been working on an AI product that will enhance our communication and also allow us to open up markets that we can't currently get into because we're just from a cost standpoint, because about 60 to 65% of the litigants in Wisconsin do not have a lawyer, and we feel like we are creating something that will enable a large percentage of those to get access to legal representation using our new tools that we're building. So we're excited about it.
Love it. Charlotte, how about you guys over in Alabama?
I think the thing that we are utilizing most now is we put all of our SOPs, our systems, our processes and procedures into our own AI chatbot, so that now instead of the team having to go look up a procedure, they can just go straight to the chatbot and say, how do I do X? And it will tell them based on what we've put in. So it cuts down the time and makes it so much easier to get a checklist. So it'll give them a checklist of, if you're doing an uncontested divorce, these are the things you have to make sure that you do. It seems to be helping a lot. And, just the realization, I guess, that we need to accept AI and not battle it has been the best use for us. But we've got a few things up our sleeve and the pipeline that we're putting out that we're excited about.
That's great.
Yeah. One of my biggest frustrations lifetime with standard operating procedures is that you have to update them. And usually when you write them, that they sit on a shelf and never get touched again. So I love that you're able to take those and it lives and breathes and grows within your firm without you having to go back and constantly think about updating every one of those things.
And Jeff, the thing is that, our process now says that if you update any or you add any new process, you just go in and tell the AI, this is going to replace, or this is an addition to our standard operating procedure, whatever the number is or whatever. And then you don't have to go take it out, redate it, all that. So it's in there and the AI knows it quickly because you just attach the written document there. And so that makes it it just makes it so much easier.
And probably effective too, because I mean, anyone who's worked in a company knows that 9 out of 10 times or 9 out of 10 people are not going to go look at the SOPs. They're going to ask somebody who knows the SOP to get the answer because they don't want to go look it up themselves. So you're essentially creating that like infinite knowledge coworker who can answer those questions. So you're connecting your employees with the SOPs that would otherwise be subject to human error and time suck to those other employees' work.
Jeff, the thing is that we as leaders, we've really pushed the leadership team in when somebody asks a question or if something is done that we know didn't follow the process, or if there's a problem or a question, we're having the leaders pull it up. We're saying, okay, let's go to our brain. That's what we call it. And did you go to our brain? We asked them that first off, and 9 times out of 10 they didn't because they did it from memory, right? So our leaders are going right in front of them, pulling it up and saying, here's what you missed, here's why you missed it, here's what you would have gotten if you had gone. And I think that's it's slow iteration, right? Because change is so uncomfortable for people, but I think just doing it, just the repetition of doing that and making sure that you lead into it, just like everything else, just like with a written SOP, you can't just put it in place and say, here it is, use it. You've got to, I think, as leaders really exhibit it. And I think that we're working hard to do that.
Is there a specific tool that you're using, Charlotte?
We have 2 different tools. We have a tool for marketing that we're using that we got from Alex Hermosi's. We actually purchased. So Alex Hermosi had a deal where he essentially every person he had coached and every business that he had purchased, he had put with their permission, he had put all of it into an AI. And so for marketing purposes, we can go in there and get a lot of information out. So we purchased that from him, and we use that a lot to help us just know next steps and next pieces to use based on the experience, of course, of successful businesses. Because as we know, success leaves clues. So why not use that? But then we made our own chat bot from ChatGPT, Jeff, and that's what we're using for our SOPs. There's a lot of guides out there on how to put your SOPs into a chatbot. But essentially, it's just teaching it and giving it your information, telling it what you want it to do, and how you want it to give an answer. And we've been pretty pleased with it. It's time consuming getting all that in there, but it's not nearly as time consuming as trying to teach people where all the SOPs are in a book or even in a Google Drive.
100%. It's great. I think what we're talking about right now is the efficiency gained through leveraging a tool like AI, right? And there's a million iterations that can come out of how do you leverage this tool and what does it look like? And individual firms are going to have to figure that out on their own. But it feels like this is the first kind of big movement of how people are leveraging AI and how firms are using it is to create these efficiencies. Morrell, I'm going to make the assumption that you're closest to AI, given everything I've heard about you and how you're leveraging it in the firm. How do you feel like firms are going to evolve from simply using it to find efficiencies to actually leveraging it for different purposes?
Yeah, I that's a fantastic question because there are those dual lanes of AI implementation. You can be looking at efficiency, or you can be looking at service offering improvement or expansion, right? So there's things that we can do now that we couldn't do before, and I probably have seen that in my personal practice more than anyone. That's probably been the biggest change that I've made. The level of service that I'm able to provide to my clients has expanded dramatically in terms of quicker responses, better responses, more thorough advice and counsel, better record keeping. The amount of times that I've got to go back to my client saying, "What did you tell me?" Or I don't remember what we talked about at our last meeting. The number of times that I have to do that now is roughly 0, and it was not uncommon before, and probably a very frustrating experience for the customer. And so expanding on the service offering that you can deliver to people, the efficiency in some cases goes hands in hand with that, right? So if I need to do legal research, I can now offload that to an AI. And I can turn that around quicker. It's more efficient. It's also better.
That's great. When you talk about offloading it, I think some things that we've heard in the past or a complaint is, well, is it accurate? Or
Yeah.
what if there's errors? How have you dealt with that?
Yeah, there's hallucinations are always a problem. I think every lab has basically said they're going to be a problem given the current technology, and better LLMs, bigger LLMs aren't going to solve that problem. That's going to persist. There are a number of tools you can use, and when I have talked to other attorneys at our firm and showed them how you can use this, that's always the first question: how can I trust this? And there's different things that I do because I always double check. I'm not satisfied with just getting an answer. One is using deep research, and whether you're using Claude, ChatGPT, Anthropic, DeepSeek, all of them have and Grok, all of them have deep research functionality where they're combing over lots of data for maybe 10, 20 minutes. And they're visiting maybe 200 websites. You can steer where those, what that source material is. So when I'm asking it to do legal research, I say specifically stay out of law firm websites. It's not a reliable resource. Even we've found plenty of errors even in Sterling's website that we aggressively go after to try to fix to make sure that everything's accurate. But so I'll say stick to statutes, Wisconsin law, journal articles, things like that, reputable sources. And then when you get the results, they're generally very high quality, generally very accurate. But I will take those results and then I might run deep research a second time. I'll take the result and I'll say, your job as under deep research is to go fact check this stuff. Go actually read all of the cases that are cited here and make sure that the propositions that this research represents, that says that this case says this thing, make sure it actually says this thing. And so now you're just leveraging that tool again to ensure that everything's accurate. And it's a rare day when it comes back and says that it found an issue, or when I spot one.
Yeah, it's great. And again, back to the play that by having that done for you, you are then able to focus on being a great attorney, being great at client service, helping your clients understand what's happening and where you're going, which I think is a huge advantage of leveraging not only delegation techniques with your team, but also large language models and AI.
Yeah, and it's not anything that I have looked at once as, oh, this is going to replace me, because it does quite a bit of the work, and it does a better job researching than I do, than I could do. But then applying that case law or that research to my client's factual situation and my local experience with the judges and how they interpret these laws or how they deal with these circumstances, right? I bring the human judgment to that. AI has very little style, in a visual sense and in applying legal standards to fact patterns. It's actually not all that good at that. It's not necessarily bad. It's better than maybe like a first-year law student, but that human element, the human judgment, still needed. And the focus that I can bring to a case, I can spend more of that mental energy on that, applying that judgment and communicating effectively with the client instead of researching, for example.
Yep, 100%. Charlotte, could you talk to that point a little bit? I know you and I have spoken about this in the past, the narrative that, well, it's just going to replace all of us and we should be terrified. Talk about how that's not the case, maybe elaborating on Jeff Morrell's statement that it allows him to be a better attorney at the end of the day.
Tyler, I think at the end of the day that people hire us for result, right? They don't hire us to do drafting. They don't hire us to keep up with calendars. They hire us for a result, right? So we're able to give them a better result if we can spend more time on strategy and design. And so when a case comes in and we're working with somebody, if we can really spend our time on the strategy and really designing how we're going to represent them, how we're going to put their story in front of the trier of fact. That's something that I don't think AI will ever do. I don't think it will. I don't think our jobs are going away. I think many people's jobs will go away. Hear me on that. I think many people will, because lawyers, we don't like change. The preacher Sunday preached on change and talking about how people really hate change. And I was thinking about that with, getting ready to talk to you all. And I thought, lawyers not liking change and not being willing to change is going to be the end to many people in the profession. So, you can't look at it as it's not going to come for us, right? So AI is going to replace, a lot of things in the medical space. It's going to replace things in every space, and legal space certainly isn't protected. But what I say is that it's such an advantage. We're living in such an amazing time that the service level that we can give to clients and the product that we can give to clients can be so much better when we utilize these GPTs correctly, these LLMs correctly. Today it's not something that's happening 5 years, 10 years from now. It's happening today. I mean, weekly we're getting calls from people who are saying, I don't want you to do anything but review what I've already put into ChatGPT and gotten out. Can you look over this? They're not coming to us for drafting. They're coming to us for the result, but they're coming for validation. So it's not just the beginning. I think that lawyers who use AI will replace those who don't. And then I think AI, may replace some roles and some jobs within the legal space. But I think that the firms that are still running like 1997, manual processes, physical signatures, billable hours for document review, that sort of thing, I think those firms are already dying. And I think that what we're going to see is a faster death, a faster movement toward those firms not existing anymore, because I think that's happening in real time. And that's why, I'm obsessed with what can we do to automate something, not take a job away from somebody, and not use it as like a template, because everything we do is specific to a client. But what we can automate and put into play, I think clients are going to demand it. They're going to see it in their own space. They're going to go to a doctor's office, or they're going to come to our office, and they're going to say, why do I have to sit down with a piece of paper and pen and fill out 15 forms, and on every form put my name, my telephone number, and my address? That's crazy. So we're working on an AI right now that allows our onboarding team to ask the questions that would otherwise be on that sheet that they filled out, and have those automatically flow to our program, to our CRM, so that the team has that, so that it makes it a better experience for our clients, because we want to elevate that experience, because that's what's so important. But elevation in our jobs instead of eliminating our jobs, I think, is the way that we have to look at it. So I think that it's important for us as lawyers to really shape this, and to really determine how we can help other people grow, and how we can help other people realize how serious this is, that people buy into it, and that they realize that it's here. And if they don't, I think the legal industry is really just kind of at a space that a lot of people don't even realize. I think we're at a place that there's a fork in the road, and you've got to make a decision. Are you going to go on the side that is sort of dwindling on the vine, or are you going to go on the side that's here, that's real? And those things are real. Are you going to go on that side and build up your firm and give your clients the best opportunity by utilizing what's here and putting it into your workflow?
Hughes, would love your remarks there. Same question.
With respect to, so I was thinking as Charlotte was talking, especially Charlotte, as you touched on the leadership aspect of thing, and our responsibility as leaders for our team to prepare our firm for the future, for security for our teammates. I think so many of the lawyers that I talk to, that I bump into when it comes to AI, are mostly intimidated by it, and they know it's going to be important. I think we're past that. There's the belief that it's going to be important to our firm. It's going to impact our firm. It's going to it's going to change a lot within our practice. But what they get stymied on, what do we do? Like, what's the next step to take? Because some of the stuff goes over their head. Like whenever, Charlotte, you're talking about the GPTs and all that. I mean, I kind of know what they are because I've been paying attention, but for the most part, it goes over my head because I've never actually done it. So what I have done is I've tried to approach it from a four-pronged attack personally. One is I've done my best over the past 6 months to train myself to go to AI first for solving my problems. What that looks like for me is I don't go to Google. So I change like the default browser on my computer or on my phone to one of the AI tools. So I do that. I keep top of mind on the skills that I need to keep enhancing that are not AI. Skills that AI can take, like networking, leadership, communication ability, and that sort of stuff. I also do my best to build up the knowledge of AI, build up my understanding of how it's impacting our greater business community, but also within law. So that I listen to a podcast every day. It's the AI Daily Brief podcast that Morrell turned me on to. It's like a 10-minute podcast that just daily pumps AI information in my head. Not all of it sticks. Most of it doesn't stick, but it enables me to have the conversation with others about it, how it's impacting us. So that's what I do with it. And then lastly, I go deep. I'm trying to focus my reading time on going deep on principles that have stood the test of time, that have that you can go read 1,000-year-old books and those principles are still true today, because those will stick with us no matter what happens. So if you go back and look at like whenever we had like the mechanization of business that happened like in the early 1900s and so forth, that changed a ton of jobs. It moved everybody into the cities, off the farms, and all of that, the industrial revolution. But there were principles that were true before that and true after that. Those are the same principles that are going to be true after AI does its thing over the next 10 years. So those are the things that I try to read up on and stay focused on.
Yeah, I think bar associations are showing that fear, right? Because I've seen so many rules come down, and you can't use AI, and you can't do this. But Jeff, the thing is that we've been using AI since our iPhone came out. I mean, essentially, that's what Siri is. How's AI any different? Because at the end of the day, when I file something in the court system, it has my name on it and I'm responsible for it. So however I was able to procure that, be it from Westlaw, be it from, AI, or be it from something I've built, I feel like we as attorneys should have the freedom to do that if we're going to be responsible for what we file, what we put in. But I think bars and other attorneys are so scared of it. They're just like, just don't use it. Just don't use it. And I think that that's going to slow us down. It's going to hurt the profession.
Morrell, are you seeing that in Wisconsin as well through the bar?
Yeah, I would say that the public tone is very cautious, very skeptical. I don't think that's what's happening behind closed doors. I think people are maybe afraid to say it, that they're using it, or afraid to admit it. And a lot of that comes from the fear and the uncertainty of like not knowing how it works. And I can't tell you how many people at our own firm are just have this constant fear that they're going to put a client name into the AI, and then that's going to pop out in some later conversation with someone else and divulge client secret, client information. It's a lack of understanding. It's an understandable fear. So I think that drives people to keep their AI use under the radar. And so what you see as a result then are the people who are generally calling for more restrictions. And I think the regulatory framework for that kind of thing moves much slower than the technology. So I don't pay a lot of attention to it. I don't think it's going to have a big impact on things moving forward, but I could be wrong about that.
Interesting. I think Charlotte hit the nail on the head with the fact that clients are paying for results. At the end of the day, you're going through in family, you're going through a difficult time, one of the most difficult times in your life. You want to get through this period. You want to have the right things happen as it relates to the documents and the procedures and everything else. I don't think anyone's concerned with how you got there. So as we are trying to bring all this together, I think Jeff started with this with his 4 pieces of advice or recommendations or things he's doing to stay on top of AI. Charlotte and Jeff Morrell, I would love your kind of thoughts or advice to our listeners on how they can either stay up to speed or how they can leverage AI in their firm.
Charlotte, you want to go ahead?
Sure, I'll go. So I think that my advice would be to make sure that you understand it. So don't just go use it without understanding it and without understanding its limitations. Okay, it's not a magic pill. It's not perfection. It has a lot of shortcomings, and you can't just go ask it a question without setting up a foundation for your question and explaining to the GPT what you want it to give you back. So you have to understand that. And I think that you have to look at everything you do and say, how can we automate this? Just the little things. Just start with little things. How can we automate this with AI to free ourselves to do something else? And I think that that's just, not looking to eliminate what we do now, but really elevating it. So I think if you look to yourself, you look to the things that you do on a daily basis, I think you got to become obsessed with educating yourself, like Jeff said. And I think that you have to embrace it. You can't be scared of it. We're fear what we don't know, right? So when we don't know something, we tell ourselves stories. And so we fear it because we don't know it. And AI moves so fast that I don't know that any of us will ever be in front of it. I think the place that we have to be is striving to go as close to alongside it as we can. So I think that you've got to determine right now, today, which one of those paths you're going to take. And if you're not using AI and you don't want to do it, you don't want to learn it, then surround yourself with people who will, who can understand your vision, your mission, your values, and what you want for your business, who can help you implement it, who you can go, I guess, essentially be your AI to ask questions to.
That's great. Well, how about you?
I think, getting past the fear is a big thing. Getting educated. You don't need to become a programmer, but understanding the fundamentals, like there are tons of free courses on YouTube or Coursera or deeplearning.ai that you can use to educate yourself so that you have that fundamental core knowledge of how this stuff works, and that sets you up for success on all the other stuff. And that's in particular if you're going to move past like the chatbot type interface where you're using ChatGPT on web or on your phone or your computer, and actually implementing systems behind the scenes. Because one of the things that across different industries, a major shift has been build versus buy. Uh, the build versus buy ratios have flipped. The number of enterprises building their own internal products has skyrocketed, while the number of SaaS products being sold is going down because it has become so simple to do that. And without that core knowledge, you're not going to be able to break out of that. The other component of that learning journey is getting good at using AI tools. It requires a lot of frustration and trial and error. You're not going to get there with it, in the next 7 days, where all of a sudden this makes sense and you know how to use it and you use it well. It's an imperfect tool, and Professor Ethan Malik calls it the jagged frontier. There's some things that AI does that is absolutely incredible that I could never do, right? Like the data analytics, like I couldn't come close to understanding what all of these terms are, math terms are for statistical analysis or whatever. But it also can't tell me how many R's are in the word strawberry reliably. So there's some things that it's very good at, that very few humans are good at, and there's some things that it's really bad at that children can do. And learning that frontier, the edges of it, and how to assemble context is absolutely critical. If you're running a law firm, most of the law firms in the country are small. They're right. You're an entrepreneur, and I think what AI will fundamentally change is it's going to turn all employees into entrepreneurs, and your set of tools at varying levels of sophistication are going to be what you bring to the table in addition to your individual effort on a day-to-day basis. And so I don't think very few fields are as well situated as the legal field, especially in business to consumer field like family law, to make use of AI to great end. And I don't mean putting a chatbot on your website or having an AI write your emails. Those things can be helpful, but I think they're table stakes at this point. But like in my own implementations, I minimize as much as I can any visibility between my customer and the AI, because that's not what they came to me for. They can get that on their own, right? Like the human touch point is really important. And I don't want them to ever feel like I just offloaded their needs onto something else that they could have done on their own. So I really try to keep my focus on things that improve my work product, improve my accessibility or availability or reliability to my clients to make me a better overall attorney, not to try to replace parts of my job.
I think this really gives us an opportunity too to come back to humanity. I think, Jeff, you hit it well there when you said, it gives you an opportunity to talk to your clients as humans. I think we sometimes have had a tendency to get away from that. And as a result, we don't have unreasonable hospitality. We don't have humanity in a lot of places, in a lot of situations. And I think that AI gives us a beautiful opportunity now to come back to the basics, to come back to the way it used to be that we wouldn't always have. So I think if you really look at it that way and embrace it in that regard, I think that it's got the potential to really change your practice.
One of those core principles I was talking about earlier is the principle of humans crave human connection. And that's been true since the creation of man. And it is never more true today than it was, 200 years ago. So I think anything we can do to provide an extra measure of that human connection to our clients, we're getting ahead in the process of doing that. So that's just another one of those fundamental principles that will be true forever.
It's a great point. As technology advances, come back and realizing that customer service is still the greatest differentiator, right? Your ability to connect with your customers and help them understand what you're doing and why it matters is paramount.
Great.
This was super fun, gang. Really appreciate your time, your insights. I think we could spend 50 episodes talking through this, and maybe we should think about building a series on AI. But want to let you get back to running your firms. Really appreciate your time and looking forward to the next one.